4 days here, especially in this department. He came yesterday and will be leaving on the 8th of this month. In fact, he was invited last year in 2015, but due to so many problems regarding his but this time he was very successful in getting his Indian visa, and we had a plan that he should stay here for nearly 2 months. But again, you see, he has very big preoccupations in so many places of the world, therefore he cannot stay more than 5 days in this place. But in spite of his very busy schedule, we are very grateful to him for coming to Manipur and stay with us, and for at least 4 working days. And we will, during this period, share ideas with him, and also we listen to him about African culture, African literature, African people, and so many things about Africa which we haven't known properly. So, my dear students, it is for you that he is here. If you have any doubt, any question, any query, you can, without any hesitation, ask him and get the true information from him. I was telling you that I had been teaching African literature for a class, I think, more than 10, 12 years. And, but my understanding of Africa is not first-hand. Here is one person who knows African literature, African society at first-hand, so you can get everything from him. My understanding is merely second information. Therefore, Africa is very much worried about African literature and African culture, because Africa has been, in culture and in history, especially in the colonial history, was misrepresented and misinterpreted for a long time by the West. And African writers have taken pains in clarifying their stand and their say, dignity to the whole world. Therefore, African literature and African writers, they have a separate role in the whole world which other people do not have. They have to show to the world that Africa is a nation, Africa is a continent, Africa is a very, very powerful country, powerful nation, powerful people we have there who have a long history of civilization, culture. Therefore, we can learn many things by the Western misrepresentation of Africa. What have we come to know is that they misinterpreted Africa as a continent without history, without civilization, and without even literature. Yes, African literature is comparatively very new and we can say of recent origin, but African literature is very, very old, the oldest in the whole world, we can say. African literature started with human beings. It is as old as mankind or humankind. Therefore, we can see so many things, we can hear so many things from Africa. This is a great moment for all of us, because earlier we never had this kind of opportunity to meet a person, a scholar from Africa. We have learned of Sinwasebi, we have learned of Onyeka and many more, and so many African writers and African critics. But not like this, face to face. He's sitting here and we can hear him how he speaks. We will have now. I don't want to go on very long, and then I will but for convenience's sake introduce him to all of you. Onyeka Nwelue was born in, this is a very brief CV of this great scholar, was born in Ihime, Bano in Imo State. Perhaps I may pronounce wrongly, so you may correct. Okay. And Nigeria, to Honorable Sam Nwelue, a politician and a knight of St. Christopher and Lady Catherine Nwelue, a teacher and a lay reader. When he was 11, he was sent to Mount Olives Seminary in Missoula, where he was meant to become a priest. So you can just see from his appearance that he is a priest. Nwelue left Mount Olives Seminary to continue at Holy Family Secondary School before running away to Lagos to pursue his career in writing. He wrote for The Guardian and The Punch. Nwelue left for Lagos when he was 16 years old to attend the World Swing Festival, after which he was introduced to the Nobel laureate. A few years later, Nwelue traveled to India for the second International Writers' Festival under the invitation of the India Cultural Association. He is the fourth of 6 children to his parents. His mother is cousin to Flora Nova. Flora Nova, if you know, she is one of the greatest women writers of Nigeria and also of Africa. Yes, often regarded as the first African female writer to be published internationally and acclaimed writer. Okay, we have one book called Busi Emesata's The Slave Girl. Busi Emesata has also written so many books, so many novels. One of them is The Joys of Motherhood. This very title of this book is derived from one of the books by Flora Nova called Ifuru. Okay. So Flora Nova had influenced Busi Emesata so much. At the age of 21, Nwelue was the first African to join Sandbox, a global community of young innovators under 30, after which he was followed by Nigerian musical bands. Nwelue began writing his first novel, The Abyssinian Boy, when he was in India. This book partly captures his experiences in India as a black man. The publication of The Abyssinian Boy catapulted Nwelue to international fame. He received the 2009 T.M. Aloko Prize for Fiction, came second at the Ibrahim Tahir Prize for this first book, and nominated for the Future Awards, and was the book of the month for so many magazines. It became a national bestseller and was republished in India and the United States. From the beginning, the book was also a commercial success. Nwelue received over 2.5 million naira as an advance. The additional Boy about the boy received stellar reviews in Nigerian and Indian newspapers such as The Greek Tale and The Hindu. In Hindu, it was published. The caption is The Indian Ethos Original. And by the end of the year, Nwelue had spoken at universities and colleges in India, Hong Kong, Kenya, Uganda, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Portugal, and the United Kingdom. His second book, Burned, is a narrative in verse that has been described by British-Hungarian poet George Sursti as breathless. He toured 25 countries of Europe in 2014, promoting his book. It has been translated into Italian, Spanish, Igbo, and Yoruba. It was translated by Venezuelan writer Alberto Cuero and published in Peru. It had its official launch at the Cusco Book Fair in Peru in 2015. Nwelue worked with musicians under La Cap Music. La Cap Music is his email ID. I traveled to different countries to meet different musicians and came up with this controversial book, Hip Hop is Only for Children. This is the title of the book, which details personal encounters with musicians and music promoters. It was released in January 2015 in critical acclaim. It was admired by critics and readers alike. On his return from India, Nwelue got admitted into the University of Nigeria Suka to study sociology and anthropology. He spent 2 years and dropped out to study script writing at the SND School of Medical Studies in Noida in India, after which he taught film directing at Centers for Research in Arts and the Arts of Film and TV craft. He handled the sandwich class of the English language department of the University of Lagos while working as the editor of Film Afrique, a primer on African film initiatives published by African Film Academy. Curators of the African Movie Academy Awards, he was offered a scholarship to study directing at Prague Film School in Czech Republic. In 2014, he was appointed a visiting lecturer of African Studies at the School of Modern Language and Culture, the University of Hong Kong, and later as assistant professor of African Studies at Institute of the MSCs in Puebla, Mexico. Since the success of his novel, Nwelue has co-written a film, Namaste Naija, directed by Teko Benson and shot in Hyderabad and Lagos. He also co-created the film called The Beginning of Everything Colorful with British actor and model, Dudley O'Shaughnessy. He founded Blues and the Hills Consultancy, which was featured on MTV Meets MTN with Ben Murray Bruce. His firm organized the first ever Biosal book and a craft fair where he served as the director. He also undertook to edit and publish Film Afrique, a primer on African cinema funded by the African Film Academy curators of the African Movie Academy Awards. Under Blues and the Hills Consultancy, La Cape Music was created and situated in Paris and Puebla to serve as CEO president. At 27, Nwelue became the youngest jury member of any film festival as part of the Woodpecker International Film Festival in India. He went on to later create the Italian-Nigerian Festival of Cultures, curating the diplomatic jazz nights for the diplomatic community in Nigeria. So this is the brief CV of our esteemed colleague who has visited our university. And now I have requested him, since the days are very few, only 4 days, requested him to give a few lectures on Africa, its people, its culture, and its literature. Okay, so today he is going to introduce Africa to all of us. The Africa that we know is only in books and also from second-hand sources. So we can hear from him directly what does Africa mean. And many more relevant issues he will bring up. So I welcome our friend, young friend, and
most of the superstitions, the traditions of the people of whom all fear and things fall apart are the same with people from here. And that was what piqued his interest. And for him to have devoted his time to do that translation, that means that he's very passionate about us, black people. For the most part, there are few things that Indians know about Africa. And it's not so cool to generalize and just point down on Africa that way, because Africa is a continent of about 54 countries. And in Africa you have West Africa, you have East Africa, you have South Africa, Southern Africa. And in Southern Africa you have South Africa, you have Malawi. So basically a lot of people, I think Indians know Nigeria, South Africa and Kenya because of cricket and drugs. So they know Nigeria because of drug and internet scam. Then they know South Africa because of cricket. They know Kenya because of that. In fact, I've met a lot of Indians who think that Brian Lara is from Africa because he's black. Okay, now, I'm not going to digress. So when I met him, and he has also read A Through, which is written by my relative, Flora Mapa. And at the moment, I've just finished a documentary on Flora Mapa. Flora Mapa is considered Africa's first female novelist, even though it's arguable. A lot of people are arguing about it. In Nigeria, you have tribal tension, where Achebe is an Igbo, Wole Soyinka is Yoruba, and then you have the Hausa writers. So every tribe, they try to blame others for their failure. Every tribe tries to outdo the others. So when you say Flora Mapa is Africa's first female novelist, a Yoruba writer will come out and say, no, she's not. We've had people like Mabel Shogun, who's Yoruba. And then the argument continues. But for how long? Now, what happened is that they considered everyone published under African Writers Series, which was published under Heinemann, as the best because they were all published in England. So Flora was the first woman in Nigeria and in Africa to be published under that series. So that is exactly where we are coming from. And I'm afraid that it's not so easy to introduce anyone to a continent called Africa. Because I have met an Egyptian somewhere in Portugal when I went for a conference. And we were being asked to sit continent by continent. And he decided he was not going to sit with Africans, that he's not an African, and he's Egyptian. So I went to him, I said, you know, you're an idiot. And he looked at me and said, no, I'm from Middle East, I'm not an African. I said, okay, where is Egypt on the map of the world? Egypt is in Africa. Tunisia is in Africa. Algeria is in Africa. But these people have decided to take themselves away from Africa because they do not want to associate with the black skin. There is a belief that the black skin equates poverty, that the black skin equates inferior mindset. But that is just the mentality of a few disgruntled people. I have been treated in a certain way because I'm black-skinned in Delhi by the Aryans. And then I go to Kerala and they treat me the same way. Who obviously know that the only difference between us is the thickness of my hair. Now, you have students from the Northeast in India. The only people they can go around with are African students. Because the Aryans say they're not part of India. Then, how do you justify human discrimination against each other? How do you justify humanity against humanity? Now, okay, you have, there's a clogged narrative everywhere where people read newspapers, they watch television, they hear, and this is their own conclusion about a certain people. I'm not saying that a lot of Nigerians are not ignorant about India. But also, like we discussed yesterday, there are so many Indians who are ignorant about India. Some Indians who are sitting in Delhi and they don't know where Manipur is in India. They don't even know if there is anything like that. So you have Indians who don't know anything about the African continent, or should I say South Asians or Asians. And then you have a lot of Nigerians back in Nigeria who know nothing about India. All they know is that all Indians are Hindu. So when I go back to Nigeria, which is a Christian country, or should I say 50-50 Muslims and Christians, then you have people asking me, Onyeka, did you practice Hinduism when you were in India? Did you worship the 3 million gods and goddesses of Hinduism? I'm like, no. In India, you have at least over 9 religions. And How many Indians are coming to Nigeria to teach Nigerians this? Nobody. All the Indians are interested in is coming to do business and go. But then during this, the time they're doing their business, they're being segregated, they're being treated badly. And they're not interested in talking about it, just like the Chinese. The only people who usually come out to scream racism, discrimination are actually black people. Black people like to use it as a safeguard. They like to play what I call reverse psychology. Black people like to say everyone is discriminating them. I don't care. I don't care if everyone here thinks I'm inferior to them, but I don't feel anybody is superior to me, and I don't feel anyone here I'm superior to. I don't feel you're better than me. I don't feel I'm better than you. And this is how I see the world. I have practically gone to everywhere you can think of. I have visited 47 countries, and I've been teaching African studies, trying to force Africa on people, the real Africa that I know, because I was born in my village. I grew up there, and I lived there all my life. And I have realized that the world is a global stage that is actually the same. I went to Otapala in Kerala, which is 3 hours away from Kochi. I know most of you have never been there before. It's just a replica of my village. The same air we breathe in, the same water we drink. If we have to transfer them to anywhere in the world, people will still survive on them. The only difference among all of us, probably the facial look, features, the language, but when you look at the origin of language, actually, most languages sound the same and they represent the same. Last night we were talking about whistling at night. In Nigeria, when you whistle at night, you are actually calling the spirits. You shouldn't do that. And I understand the same thing here. When a woman is pregnant and you pee on the road, if she passes it, she will just lose her. She will miscarriage. You know? And it's a superstition that is global, that resonates all over the world. Now I have a question, and I want to make this very conversational, interactive. Can someone just give me an idea of how he thinks that Africa has been in his head, what he thinks Africa is? A village with mud house, a country? What has been your impression about Africa? Have you ever thought that Africans don't bath as well? Because I've heard that at an international conference in Delhi by a professor who has retired from Delhi University who said Africans don't bath. So I don't know what she has been reading and learning for over 50-something years. So what is your impression about Africans? No, you can sit down.
I don't really know much about Africa, but when I read movie War, and I read some points about the World War.
Okay.
And then I used to think that Africa is not what we think about.
Africa is what?
It's not.
So it has come to a point where every African teacher needs to take the campaign to another continent to say, hey, this is what we represent, this is what we are. And everything that I wear doesn't have to symbolize anything. Like every Hindu keeps asking me, what does this mean? What does this mean? It doesn't mean anything. They're just beads that I have to wear to feel part of fashion. Because I feel that everybody in Manipur wears a ring because it symbolizes something and says something. The astrologers say. Maybe I'm digressing a lot, but to tell a story about Africa, there is really no one single story to it. We need to understand that the only difference between you and I is obviously the way we look, the face, and the color of the skin. But deep down here, we feel the same pain. We die the same way. We live differently, yes, but we're all the same. And maybe it's amazing that I can travel thousands of miles to get here, and when I talk, you people actually understand, or maybe try to understand what I'm trying to say. Maybe you're not getting my accent. Are you? You're trying, Abi? Okay. Abi is a pidgin word. Pidgin is a bastardized form of English that we use in Nigeria. And it's spoken widely in West Africa. We communicate in that way because the colonialists were able to get us with the language. And before you talk about the pains of a continent like Africa, you need to talk about the colonialists. We claim that we are independent, but we are not, because countries like France, they are still recolonizing the continent. I mean, in 2013, France invaded Mali, and every day France gets attacked by terrorists. They don't understand why they get attacked. I'm not saying it's good to attack France, but then it's not good to invade a country like Mali, because you have the Muslims who love themselves too much that when you attack a Muslim in India, another Muslim in Turkey is angry, and then he gets to attack you. So when you get to invade Mali, you need to think about the consequences. The problem with the colonialists is that they never think about consequences. They think about what they are there to gain. They think about the cultural gain. France holds natural reserves of 40 countries in Africa. So they use their France Afrique, their Langue Française Institute, French Institute, to get to every country, say they are teaching people how to speak French. How do you force people to teach your language in their country? No one has ever taken Hindi to France to force French people to speak Hindi or Manipur. Nobody has done that. But Europeans always feel they are superior to every other continent. So they go around trying to force people to be like them. And this is the reason why I am communicating with you in English. It's not a bad idea, but it's also terrible. Because if a Chinese has to come to talk to you, I'm sure he will speak Chinese, either Mandarin or Cantonese, and he will not be apologetic about it. Imagine me talking to you in Igbo language now. What will you understand? So, in every situation, there is also a glorious part of it. So let's say colonialism is a good idea, colonialism is a bad idea. But at the end of it, we need to stop colonizing people. We need to stop trying to force people to be like us. We need to stop trying to make people feel inferior or trampled on. So the idea of coming here is also to colonize your mind, to understand the concept of Africanism. If there's any question, I'd like to respond before I go on, so I don't bore this class and so that nobody sleeps.
Please raise some questions.
I'm sure they have questions, but they are shy. Sit down, please.
I'm Roshan, second semester.
Okay.
Firstly, I would like to know something about the culture of
Africa. Okay, that's a very difficult question, or difficult. I can't explain the culture because there's no. Imo State is where I come from, and that's where my mother is from. But in Nigeria, this is the way we do it. You come from where your father comes from. So I'm not from where my mother comes from. So it's a different culture. Uguta. They have a different dialect, but they call it Uguta Igbo. And then where I come from, we have a different culture as well. Where my mother comes from, the weddings happen at night. So these are very complex cultures. Very complex. So there is really no particular African culture. No. There is none. I'm sure there are about 100 million of them. So where my mother comes from, if you have to get married, you get married, you do your wedding at night. Where I come from, you do your wedding in the day. So different cultures, but they are from the same state. And they speak different languages. They don't eat the same kind of food. Where my mother comes from, they don't eat artist soup. If you ask me to explain what an African culture is, it's difficult. It's the most complex thing to do. I cannot do it. So I have to start where I was born to explain my situation to you. Then it could be related to other cultures in Africa, but then this is specifically to me. It's my own culture. So there is no African culture. There are African cultures.
Yes.
So I have a question.
The women are not asking questions. Are they shy?
So, sir, what is the
Sorry,
religious-
I want you girl to ask me a question. Even though we were in the village. My father lived in Italy for a long time, got married to my mother, and decided to move back to the village where they could have political control. So you start from the grassroots as a politician, and then he became the leader of the political ruling party, then People's Democratic Party, PDP, in the state. But we had to live in the village, so living in the village does not mean that everybody is poor. The living standard for everyone has to be set by the person. So in the village even, you eat better food than the cities, in the cities, because all your stuff are gotten from the farms. So life in the village could be daringly beautiful, in the sense that if you're a writer and you live in the village, you write better. You have the birds singing for you when you write in the morning. In the cities, I've never written one single book in Nigeria. My first book, I wrote it in India because I was in Kurukshetra, and it's a very quiet town. My second book, I wrote it in Lisbon, in the suburbs of Lisbon. There was no noise. My third book, I wrote it in Puebla, Mexico, which is like a village also. But then your concept of village life is not beautiful, bro. It's not. I think you understand village life as where people who are poor live.
What I want to know is what kind of work they do. Like out here in the village, people go to field, they grow crops.
Exactly, that's the point. They are living better than the ones in the cities. Yeah. Who are slaves to industrialization. The ones in the cities get their food from us in the village, yeah? So, we send them food to eat. We treat them well. They make all the little money and buy from us. They're the ones jumping from bus to bus, from train to train, trying to make ends meet. We wake up in the morning, go to the farm, sit there with birds singing, and we take care of what they're going to eat. We can decide to poison them as well. So really, the ones in the village are not suffering. They don't pay for the vegetable they use. They don't pay for the fruits they get. They don't pay for any of these. And everyone has his own farm, yeah? So you go and get yours. You're not paying for the farm to be harvested.
Yeah, it's okay. It's very nice to understand from you the concept of village in your country. But probably what he tries to mean is, here in India, even in northeastern part of India, we don't control.
We don't do
We don't control. Villagers doesn't control.
Really?
Yeah. That's what we want to explore.
But he didn't explain that way. He asked me a question, so from my experience.
That is what I understand as northeasterner, because the concept of giving food to the metropolis is not there.
Wow.
The metropolis, the capitalists try to exploit the poor people, as we find in other parts of India. Probably this is what we want to do.
No, but yes, the food stuff you sell in the cities, they're not from the villages, are they not?
No, it is there, but we cannot say exactly that, because it is invested by the capitalists, business class.
The poor man,
Yeah.
as presumed by the people living in the city, is in charge of the economy of any country.
No, that is not what exactly we are getting here.
But that is what I'm seeing.
Because that is what we have to construct now.
Now, that's why I started with my father's story, who moved from Italy to the village. Now he lacks nothing, he doesn't pay rent to any Italian. So he doesn't pay rent in the village. So every money, in fact, villagers have more money than people who city dwellers.
It may be true about Punjab.
Did you read A Man of the People?
In Kurukshetra, where you have...
I started making it intellectual. We're supposed to be hippie, like we're in a club, and everyone has the club. But this is not a Friday night. So I want more questions from the people behind, please. Any contribution from you guys over there? Others. So this is how I would have been if I traveled to England and I didn't know how to speak English. Now, the idea of having to know every language is important, no doubt. But the idea of forcing people to know your culture and your language, forcing them is not important, it's not good. You don't need to force people to know your language. People voluntarily can go and learn. So it's okay. So I think it should be fusion, not one-sided. So I don't know if I've answered your question. Did I answer you?
Yeah.
Okay, another question.
So you celebrate it now.
Yeah.
So, but I think there is some kind of religious conflict in Nigeria too, like almost every part of the country. I mean, our world. I have been following
Religious.
Religious conflict.
Religious conflict. No. No.
Because I have been following the news of Boko
What
Haram.
did you read? Boko Haram has nothing to do with religion.
That's
It's a terrorist group.
So they are terrorists, but they are Islamic radicals,
It's peculiar to every country in the world. Even in France, Belgium was attacked how many weeks? 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
1 week ago. I was there. So I was supposed to go to Belgium as well, but it happened. I had to stay back in France, which is unsafe. So everywhere, nowhere is safe. Americans used to think they were safe till 9/11 happened. So it's not religious. It's not religious. Don't add religion to it. It's just a group of mentally deranged people going around killing everyone. It's not religion. Don't blame it on religion. So if you think there is religious tension in Nigeria, I have to correct that. There is none. There is none. If you read it in Indian media, then you have to forget it. Indians like to write rubbish about Nigeria. Go ahead. The third question. You have like 5 questions.
It's okay. That's okay.
Why?
I have some more chances.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead. No one else? Interesting. Prof, I think they don't like me. I will come back to Manipur. Please, save me today.
Yes, anything on Africa?
Please. You guys don't want me to come back. You know, if you don't ask more questions, like 3 more questions, I'm not coming back. They won't let me come back. It's not me. They won't let me come back. So please save me. I want to come back. No?
Sir, it is not actually a question, sir.
Okay. 2021 is about a South Indian family, a South Indian journalist who is married to a Nigerian woman. He's married to a Nigerian woman. And they travel from Delhi to Lagos. And in the midst of all these narratives, I try to talk about racism in India and racism in Nigeria towards Indians and racism in India towards Nigerians, using newspaper clips and the rest of them. Where generally the first impression you have about a Nigerian in India is that he's into drugs or internet scam. That is registered already. So even when you're trying to tell an Indian who you truly are, is in doubt. So all these things led me to write The Abyssinian Boy. Yeah. And then my second book is Bond. I traveled to 25 countries in Schengen, in Europe, and I wrote a poem for each city and got it published. Then my third book is Hip Hop is Only for Children, which is about the American culture, the influence of American culture on African young youth. And the way everybody wants to dress like some gangster in America, In Nigeria, everybody wants to be like an American. So I try to talk to people, interview people, and understand the human psyche. Because I also studied anthropology. So my job is to understand how people think and reason. So these are the 3 books I've written, and I have a new book coming out, which is called Children of God. Children of God. Okay.
Sir, I like your necklace. Have you got it from?
Do you like it? Do you want it? That was his question.
Then, sir, if I were to like your shoes, will you give me?
You know why I won't give it to you? It's only what I have. So, sorry. I give you my shoes, someone else asks my wallet. Then I have to beg on the streets of Manipur.
There is magic garment.
Sir, what inspires you to write? What inspires you to be a writer?
I was born, I wouldn't say this arrogantly, I was born a writer. Because I don't think there's anything else I would have done, if not write. Almost all my uncles and aunts are writers, almost all of them. So when I was growing up, my mom would always throw books at me. She would throw books by Flora Mapa. Every time she would throw it. And she was, when Flora Mapa died in 1993, my mother was keeping a copy of her funeral program for me till end of last year when she gave it to me. That's after how many years? From 1993 to 2015, she gave it to me. So that means she had already prepared her mind that one of her kids was going to become a writer, since she couldn't get published as a writer because she tells a lot of stories. And I want to advise all of you, if you have not achieved your personal dream, please don't get married. Marriage is a terrible thing. Believe me, if you're not ready, it's terrible. When you get married, you transfer all your dreams. You share your dreams with your partner. You transfer them to your kids. You forget about yourself. All you care about your kids. This is what happened to my mother. All her sisters, cousins that are professors in universities all over the world, just because they're not married. She got married. And then her dreams got transferred to us. So if we fail our parents. And that is dangerous. So we can't fail. I've looked at the places where my father failed and I tried to succeed there to make him happy and proud. Alright.
Sir,
Yes.
we were introduced that you are a priest. So
I was supposed to be a priest. My parents sent me to a seminary. You know what a seminary is called, yeah? Yeah? Yeah, so I was supposed to be a priest, but that was their dream for me to be a priest, but I have my own personal dreams. So I pursued my dreams.
So maybe a girl sends it someone.
Sorry? What did you say? What did you say?
A girl sends.
Yeah. So
since when have you been staying in India?
Sorry?
Since when have you been staying
Since 2006, 10 years now. Off and on. But, yeah, I can't live here. I can't live in India.
Where do you base yourself?
I am no magic. I wouldn't say, I don't have any permanent address. Because from here I'm going to Hong Kong, from Hong Kong, go back to France and then Hong Kong, and then I go to Mexico again, and then I go to the US. So I have to carry my luggage everywhere I go. And when they say it's SS luggage at the airport, I throw the things away and move.
So if you have to write about Manipur, what do you write?
I have actually a title about a book I'm going to write on Manipur. It's called The Mosquitoes of Impa. You're going to read it. I'll send it over to you. And I spoke to someone this morning and said this title is beautiful. But it's going to be a love story. It's a black boy and a Manipurian. Things I've been imagining. Maybe they met in Delhi, and then they had to come down here, and then the parents of the girl says, "Oh no, send that black boy away. You can't marry a black man." So I have a story already. So you guys should just wait for it. I know Prof will translate it into Manipuri. Yeah? You guys look very beautiful. I mean it. Do you have polygamists in Manipur? Do you know what polygamy is?
Yes.
You have them?
Yes.
Wow, interesting. So we have the same culture, you know?
Yes.
Igbo culture, we have
Yes.
polygamy. Yes. In fact, I don't know what you call a woman who is married to two men. What do you call a woman? What is it? Is this English department? You people should know better than me. A woman married to two men, what's she called?
How do you know? There is, on every page, there is Kolanet. Kolanet is a symbol of greeting, welcome. Okay? When somebody visits somebody, okay, the person will be served with Kolanet.
We say he who brings Kolanet brings life.
Yes.
So I was under the impression that Kolanet I haven't seen. I see, okay, although I haven't seen this book for the past 15 years, and Kolanet was so small. So small, of different shapes and sizes. Okay. Some are flat, some are slightly round. Still some are waiting for another 100 years. So that's so wonderful. Okay.
Look at the expression on her face.
Gives strength. Very good. Powerful.
So she's laughing. What's wrong? Yawa.
Very nice, very warm, cordial, and academic as well as. Yeah, and this kind of discussion. We are planning to, one day we should take him to the local play. Okay. If we can go together, I think that would be very nice, and for that we have to talk to the vice chancellor for some buses, one bus or fantastic. Yeah, let me first talk to the office to get one bus. If it is available, we go together. If it is not available, some of you may be having Bolero and the Scorpio. You're very 5 or 6 Scorpio and you can understand what Africa is, okay, and so many things about Africa. Not Africa, you have also come to know many other cultures and countries along. So, thank you very much for your active participation and the lively discussions. Okay. You, in fact, are only persons who could talk for the first time at the conference. Okay? And many people were not talking to him. Maybe they will arise I know we sat together for a long time, and then I invited him to come to Manipur. If you could come to Manipur for a week or 10 days or 2 months, it would be wonderful. And you would have his presence there is wonderful. And I have already communicated to the Vice Chancellor that he is here. And tomorrow or the day after, we will go and meet the BC, and everything should be well done. Okay? So I look forward to you, okay, to our meeting tomorrow. Okay. Don, this size should be there tomorrow also. No more, no less. Okay.
Thank you very much. I'm sure some of you have not seen it, but last year, September, in Delhi, at Onyeka Film Festival, Nigerian films were shown, and Indians were really surprised that these guys can actually make films. So I want to show you one of those films we've made, and it's a powerful story about colonialism and how the Europeans always feel superior to other people, how they can come to your land and set up a jury, judge you, and sentence you to death in your own country. The Europeans have done that so much. And how do we decolonize ourselves? It is by knowing our history, our story, tapping into our past, to be able to see the present and determine the future. Now, things I want you to focus on in the movie is the similarity between the people of Umofia and the Benin people. The Benin people have some of the strongest traditions in Nigeria. And they have very fine artifacts that the British stole and are being kept in the British Museum at the moment in London. Then I want you to also focus on the similarities between the versions of Benin Empire and Umofia by the white man. Then the traits of the African people in the film and the non-things fall apart by Chinua. Are you writing those down? Because I need to ask you. I'm also generalizing. So let's say I'm talking about the history of Benin people with the fictional account of Umofia. The people of Umofia do not exist. Things fall apart is a fiction. So, but the story of Benin people is real. Benin people spoke English when Europeans were there. And in fact, the Europeans who first came to Nigeria were the Portuguese. So the Portuguese wouldn't have been communicating with the British or the Britons in English. There would have been a different sort of communication. Now, this relates to a lot of things we discussed yesterday about language and history. So the director of photography for the film is also Indian. Nigeria is very hot. So, but just like yesterday, I was watching CNN, and the Belgian government is trying to force foreigners coming into Belgium, migrants coming into Belgium, to sign a pledge that they are going to behave like the Belgians and uphold the values of Belgium. And I think this is arrant nonsense. I think it's stupidity. Because the Europeans keep trying to make others their energy into forcing people to behave and act like them. And for us to be able to stand strong and superior to every person we meet, we need to read more, we need to listen to news, we need to associate ourselves with the media, we need to make a very strong standpoint, but we need to read more. We need to read more about other people's culture, understand sentiments, understand cultural fundamentalism, understand all these things. They are very important. We need to also respect the fact that you can't be me and I can't be you. But how do we do these things? Is by reading a lot, voraciously. Is by trying to understand how things work in different places. So when you go there, you can adjust. Not by becoming like them, but respecting their values, but not taking what they have grown with. Is not reasonable what the Belgian government is doing. If you want to fight terrorism, you're not going to force everyone to become like you. You're not going to force every foreigner that comes to Belgium to smoke like Belgians or drink like Belgians or party like them. You're not going to do that. In Igbo culture, we say live and let live. So we say that means let the eagle perch, let the bird perch. Whichever one that doesn't want others to perch should die. So these proverbs also that we use in Igbo culture and African cultures, they reflect the way we reason and the way we see the world. I'm really, really sad that we can't see this. Very, very sad. Because it's very important for anybody who needs to understand. Imagine where this film was shot. The DOP is still an Indian, but he was able to take up the job to go and do that. To go into the forest, to film with them. And this is another way of integrating culturally with other parts of the world. We've done a lot of things with Indians who are into the arts. The truth is that we've not gotten to the mainstream, we've not gotten to the grassroots to be able to let others know that we also breathe, that we also human beings. But the most important thing now is to focus on reading what we have written firsthand and not what people like Patrick French and the rest of them, people like various Manipur who've written triangular thread.
Yes, that's a slip thread. That is more than 350 years.
Yes, I have, but the films are usually...
So this is something that has been rejected by the because that kind of picture is a false picture of Africa and that is not the inside.
There are lots of films. There is The Last King of Scotland, there is a film called Hotel Rwanda, there is Sometime Never. These films are on Africa but made by Hollywood.
Yes.
So it's my duty to show the other. A film made by a Nigerian about Nigeria, a film made by an African about Africa. And not the one made by a white person about So, and that is why some people actually find Slumdog Millionaire very irritating.
African culture and African civilization have been very... I also see two books. One is Joyce Carey's Mr. Johnson and another is Joseph Wonders.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson has been very interesting also. And the reason why I try to stay away from VS Manipur is that he writes black facts or banal history of Africa. He doesn't love Africans.
Yes.
So there is no way you're going to write something positive about the people that you don't like. So it's best to avoid VS Manipur when you're teaching African history or African literature. Best to avoid it completely. And Joseph Conrad as well. He wrote part of that.
which is dominated by Igbo people. Yes. So
they have different languages.
Yeah, very different. The people of Benin Empire, they speak Benin, and we speak Igbo.
And one of the most important things about never read the whole of Nigeria, but it is related to some parts of Nigeria. Because in Benin, we have learned that the SCOM has written that polaristics, essays in polaristics, and there also he writes that Benin people.
Yeah, there are loads of proverbs.
Proverbs,
yeah.
Yes, in the core, cases are determined and decided by the use of proverbs.
Yeah.
Okay, just like the take law books, okay, proverbs have been used instead of these, and then cases are decided with the help of these proverbs.
There are lots of them used. So it's but the knowing proverbs means that the person knows his culture and his tradition.
No, this is yes.
Yeah.
You can also see the use of proverbs by assembly in Things Fall Apart. There are so many proverbs in Things Fall Apart, and all these proverbs are structurally very well fitted in the novel, and they will show they will replace European narrative technology, narrative structure.
Yeah, we actually call it colloquial.
Yes.
It's used mostly by most people.
Can you say something about how Nigerian people, especially in supernatural things, how in this in the writing
tribally, different understandings, but not like serious infiltration of our mindset by Christianity, by the European tradition. So a lot of us we've lost our supernatural inclination. Now, in Yoruba tribe, where Onyeka Nwelue comes from, they have a very strong religion, which is called Yoruba religion. And it's also practiced in Cuba, Brazil, and Colombia, and the rest of the world. In Yoruba religion, you have the ones they call the Santeria. The Santeria is really your Bible and a picture of Jesus Christ and Mary the Virgin and the rest of them. But you're still referencing the gods of the Yorubas. Then in Igbo culture, myself, I worship the water goddess called Uwide. And I have what I would call a personal deep understanding of the supernatural. Before things happen to me, I already know. I already know that things will happen to me, both bad and good. I know. I feel it first before they happen. And I also use candles to pray sometimes. And the first thing I pray when I go to make rituals is to pray for my enemies. To pray for those who don't like me. And then after praying for them to become successful so that they can leave me, I then pray for myself. Because there is an understanding and there is also a belief system in Africa that when you wish people good comes back to you.
Yes.
So I try to wake up in the morning and pray for my enemies before praying for myself. So most people have the same ideology. Most people in Africa believe the same. And some of them practice them secretly so that nobody will laugh at them. But it is something I'm very proud of. Because I've never had to kill anyone with my supernatural powers. Is there any question? Today's class has been boring.
You are serial drawing of whom do you want to place in number one in terms of portraying a real woman character, a real African woman character?
It will always be it will always women are different wives at war, because she had a very strong relationship with Chinua Achebe. I also wanted to show you a video of that. She had a strong relationship with Chinua Achebe. Chinua Achebe wrote Girls at War, and then she wrote Wives at War. So she never considered herself a feminist. She called herself a womanist. She married two men. And she married another woman for the husband. So she was one of the most powerful women in Nigeria. If you check, she couldn't have written about men at all. And she couldn't have said anything good about men. This is her funeral program, when she died in 1993. And you have pictures grew up thinking about the characters she created as if they were the ones. So they became strong mentally and intellectually. So it can never be Achebe. Never. Achebe relegated the women to the back of the crowd. In all his writings.
In all his novels, you will not find a strong woman.
You can't find a strong woman.
In his novels. Never. Never done that.
So this is, Flora was everywhere with men. She was never with women. Never. In fact, the man in the picture is called M.K. Abiola. He had 22 wives with 200 children before he died. You can read up about him on the internet as well. So she was more of a man than a woman. Yes. And even during the war, when the war broke out, keep him in Uguta, her hometown, to take care of him. So she also took care of other writers like J.B. Clark and the rest of them. So she was very, very strong woman. Very strong, whose writing, and all her visions reflected in her writing. She wrote about herself a lot. She wrote about herself. How many people title their books Women Are Different? And thank you for that question. That was a good one. It's helping me. I didn't realize how strong she was until I explained it to you now. Characters, no, I write about it. I don't think about it. Seriously. But there is a review of my book, I'm on the internet, you can find it somewhere, where someone says, the female character, central character of my book, Eunice, is the strongest woman he knows. But I never thought about it. But this is what happened. I grew up with just one girl as my sister. She lives in Delhi. So whatever we thought we got them from my mother, but we got them from our father. But she was always the one we go to first. And my mother's siblings, they are very strong. But the truth is, when I write about women in my books, I only think about the storyline. I don't think about making a woman weak or something like that. No.
That is anti-flash.
So, are we done today? Looks like we're done. I forgot she's a woman, you see? See, that's the problem. I don't even know.
So, are you satisfied?
I think they still want to see the film later, so it's whenever you have time, can take it. You want to ask me a question? Hello? No? What were you discussing in class?
Okay. And it states like this, it goes like this, the X forgets what the 3 remembers.
The what?
The X, A-X-E-X. X
Yes.
what the 3 remembers. So,
So I'm not going to lie to you.
But because we will be having our lunch now, and that's because he did not meet you.
Change the setting. Okay, I want to take you to again this way.
More?
You know you can come closer a bit and take it.
Yes.
Yeah?
Come closer.
Swami Ramdev say anyone who doesn't shout Bharat Matal will be beheaded. So let's shout for them. You want to be beheaded? 1, 2, go. Hey! All right, guys, thank you so much.